Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time around, we're tackling something a lot of you seem to be thinking about insurance here in Ireland. We've gotten a ton of articles from you all on all sorts of different coverage, life, home, travel, you name it. So that tells me you're thinking about the future and, protecting yourself, which is smart.
Mhm.
But I gotta say, insurance can be a bit of a maze, wouldn't you say?
It absolutely can be, yeah. There's so much to consider, but that's why we're here to break it all down. And what's interesting is looking at the articles you sent, they really run the gamut: health, home, travel. It seems like you're taking a very holistic approach to risk management, which, by the way, is the right way to do it.
100%. I mean,
Oh.
we insure our phones, right? Those little cracked screen. So why not the bigger things in life too? And speaking of big things, one topic that really jumped out from your research was cancer cover.
Mm.
And look, it's a tough subject, but it's something like 1 in 2 people in Ireland will face a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime.
It's true. And while the Irish healthcare system is generally excellent, there are certain situations where you might want a little more, shall we say, control over your care. And that's where cancer cover can come in. It's not about replacing our public system, it's more about providing an extra layer of financial security and peace of mind should you ever need it.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. The articles you sent mentioned several different ways to actually get this kind of cover. There's standalone cancer cover, it could be part of a critical illness policy, or even just like an add-on to existing health insurance or life insurance. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, it can seem that way. But the key here is really understanding those subtle differences. So, standalone cancer cover is very focused. It's there to support you financially if you are diagnosed with cancer, specifically. Now, a critical illness policy is broader. It covers a range of serious illnesses, and that includes cancer, but also things like heart attacks or strokes. And then you've got your add-on options, which can be a really easy way to just boost your existing coverage without having to buy a whole new policy.
Okay, so how do you know which route to even take?
Honestly, it all comes down to, like most things in life, your individual needs and priorities. Like, if cancer is a particular concern for you, maybe because of family history or certain lifestyle factors, then a standalone policy might make sense. But if you'd rather have coverage for a wider range of serious illnesses, then a critical illness plan could be the better fit.
Okay, that makes sense. But no matter which type of cover you go for, what does it actually do? I mean,
Huh.
what does it actually cover?
Think of it this way: financial peace of mind if you're going through a cancer journey. We're talking about coverage for all those diagnostic tests, which, as you might know, can get really expensive. Your scans, biopsies, maybe even genetic testing. And then there's the treatment itself, right? Surgery, chemo, radiotherapy, even some of the newer cutting edge treatments like CAR T cell therapy, which, by the way, is available here in Ireland. It's incredibly promising for certain types of cancer, but it can be very expensive. So, private coverage like this, it could potentially help bridge that gap and even speed up access to those treatments.
Wow, CAR T cell therapy. I'd never even heard of that. Incredible.
Right. It's pretty remarkable. But that's just one example. Beyond the actual medical side of things, cancer cover can also help with the costs associated with hospital stays, potentially getting you a private room, access to specialists, maybe even helping to cover the cost of certain medications that might not be fully covered by, say, standard health insurance.
So even with Ireland's public healthcare system,
Yeah.
having this kind of cover in your back pocket could be, I don't know, a real game changer. Like choosing your own adventure, but in a good way, obviously.
Exactly. It's about having options and maybe even faster access to the care that's right for you. Imagine needing to see a specific oncologist and being faced with a long wait on the public system. Having that private coverage could mean getting that appointment sooner, starting treatment earlier, maybe even just alleviating some of the stress and uncertainty that comes with a cancer diagnosis in the first place.
Makes total sense. But I do have to ask, with all this talk about insurance, I keep hearing that phrase, read the fine print. Is there anything specific we should be watching out for with cancer cover?
Oh, you are absolutely right to be asking that. One thing that the articles highlighted was the importance of understanding any exclusions. For example, some policies might have limitations on pre-existing conditions or certain types of cancer. So always read those policy documents carefully and don't be afraid to ask questions. If anything is unclear, it's better to be safe than sorry.
100%. Now let's move from one important topic to another, our homes. Their sanctuary, our safe space, our castles, as they say here in Ireland. But like any good castle, we got to make sure it's properly protected, right?
Absolutely. And that's where home insurance comes in. And this one, it's kind of a two-parter: buildings insurance and contents insurance.
Okay, see, I used to think those are the same thing.
Yeah, it's a very common misconception. But it's pretty simple when you break it down. Buildings insurance is for the actual structure of your home. So the bricks and mortar, the roof, the walls, literally everything that makes it a standing building. Contents insurance, on the other hand, is for what's inside those walls. So your furniture, your electronics, your clothes, that vintage record collection you're so proud of, you get the idea.
Okay, so buildings insurance is like the solid foundation, and contents insurance is all the cool stuff we put on top of it.
Nailed it. But here's the catch. Most mortgage lenders here in Ireland actually require you to have buildings insurance as part of the mortgage agreement. It's not even a suggestion, it's a must-have.
Which makes sense. They want to protect their investment too. But here's another question that's been on my mind. Don't you just like insure your home for its market value?
Another common misconception. It's not about market value, it's about rebuilding costs. And that's a crucial difference. Think about it. If, God forbid, the worst happens and your home is completely destroyed, we're talking fire, flood, some catastrophic event, rebuilding costs are about how much it would actually cost to rebuild your home from scratch to its previous condition. And trust me, that number can be very different from your home's market value, especially in today's market.
See, that is something I genuinely did not know. So how on earth do you accurately calculate those rebuilding costs? Like, where do you even start?
You're in luck. The Society of Chartered Surveyors Ireland, or SCSI, it's better known, they have this really handy calculator on their website. You can plug in all your details, the size of your home, the materials used, even the location. It's a really fantastic tool to get a more realistic estimate and make sure you're not underinsured.
Okay, good to know. Phew. So we've covered the basics of buildings and contents insurance, but the articles you sent also mentioned these add-on options. What are those all about?
Oh, the add-ons. Those are all about tailoring your home insurance to your specific needs and getting you, guessed it, even more peace of mind. Like, say you live in an older home with, what's the word? Character. Pipes with a mind of their own, wiring that's seen better days. You might want to consider home emergency cover. It can be an absolute lifesaver for those unexpected, often stressful situations.
Tell me about it. I had a pipe burst a couple winters ago. What a nightmare. Trying to find a plumber in the middle of the holidays, not fun.
Exactly. That's where this comes in.
Yeah.
Home emergency cover will usually cover the cost of calling out an emergency plumber, an electrician, locksmith, even a glazier if you have a window decide to spontaneously crack.
That's good to know. What other kind of add-ons are out there?
Another one that's worth thinking about, especially these days, is accidental damage cover. I mean, we've all been there, right? You spill a glass of red wine on your brand new rug, your laptop takes an unfortunate tumble off the kitchen table, your kid decides your living room wall is their new art canvas. Accidents happen, and this type of cover can just help soften that financial blow a little.
Okay, that is definitely going on my list of things to check. Now, what about when we're out and about with our precious belongings? Any add-ons for that?
There is. It's called personal possessions cover. Basically, it's insurance for your stuff, even when it's not actually at home. So say your bag gets stolen or your phone decides to go for a swim in the Liffey while you're out for a jog. This add-on can help cover the cost of repairing or replacing those items.
So like a little security detail for all our valuable things, even when we're on the go. I like it.
Exactly. And speaking of being on the go, I believe we also have another crucial aspect of life in Ireland to cover: our cars.
Okay, yes, let's talk cars. Or, well, car insurance in Ireland, to be exact. We all know it's the law here, but man, trying to decode those quotes and find a good deal, it's like, I don't know, solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded in the dark during a power outage. You get the picture.
It's definitely a
Yeah.
lot. But honestly, once you get a handle on the basics, it's not as intimidating as it seems at first.
Well, in that case, walk us through it. What are the absolute must-knows when it comes to car insurance in Ireland?
All right, let's start with the big three. The main types of car insurance here: third-party only, third-party fire and theft, and comprehensive.
Okay, hold on. Back up for a sec. This might sound silly, but when we say third party in this context, what does that even mean? It feels like one of those things I should know, but
No, it's a great question, and honestly, you'd be surprised how many people aren't totally clear on that. Basically, think of third party as anyone else involved in an accident that you might be liable for. So with third party only, that's like the most basic level of cover. It protects you financially if you cause damage to someone else's car or property, or, God forbid, injure someone. It's the legal minimum here, but it's important to remember it doesn't cover any damage to your own vehicle.
so third party only, is that kind of the better safe than sorry option if you're, say, not driving a brand new car?
Exactly. It's often the most affordable option too, which is why it's common for new drivers or people driving older cars where the cost of repairs might be, more than the car's even worth.
Makes sense. Okay, what about third-party fire and theft? What's that one all about?
So that's the next step up. You get all the same coverage as third party only, but then you've got that added protection for your own car if it's stolen or, like the name suggests, damaged by fire. It's that extra peace of mind, knowing you're covered for those oh no moments that, well, you just never see coming.
So it's like the just-in-case option for those things we hope will never happen to us, but, sometimes life has other plans. Which brings us to comprehensive. That's the I want it all option, right?
Pretty much. Comprehensive car insurance, it's the most extensive level of cover. You're getting everything we just talked about with third-party fire and theft, but it also covers damage to your own car even if you're at fault in an accident. So, if you're prone to the odd parking lot mishap or you've splashed out on a brand new car, comprehensive can definitely give you that added peace of mind.
Right, so you're covered no matter what. Okay, but it's not just these three things that determine our premiums, is it? I feel like a million different factors go into those quotes. It's enough to make your head spin.
Oh, I hear you. It can feel like they've got some secret formula hidden away. But at its core, it really comes down to assessing risk. A big part of that is, of course, your driving history and experience. Statistically speaking, younger, less experienced drivers are more likely to be involved in accidents, so unfortunately, they tend to pay higher premiums.
Not exactly fair when you're a new driver, is it?
Sadly not, but it is what it is. But it's not just age. Where you live makes a difference too. Urban areas, more cars on the road, more traffic congestion that generally means higher premiums.
Right, makes sense. More cars, more potential for something to happen.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about the car itself. The make and model, the engine size, the age of the car, it all plays a part.
So no one's insuring a 1980s hatchback for the same price as, say, a brand new electric SUV.
You got it. Higher value cars, sports cars, anything with a powerful engine, those are always going to be pricier to insure simply because they cost more to repair or replace.
Right, that makes total sense. Okay, so we got age, location, car type. What else? Oh, I know. Can we talk about penalty points? Because here in Ireland, those little things can really add up, and not in a good way.
Absolutely. Penalty points, that's a very Irish thing to consider, and they can make a huge difference to your premiums. Insurers, they see those penalty points as a bit of a red flag, right? It suggests you might be a riskier driver, and that often translates to higher premiums. So, drive safe out there, folks.
Yes, heed the expert's advice. Those speed limits are there for a reason. But even if you're a model driver with a spotless record, it still pays to shop around for the best deal, doesn't it?
100%. Never just auto-renew without even looking. Comparison websites are your best friend here. Bonkers.ie, Chill Insurance, those kinds of sites. They gather quotes from loads of different insurers so you can compare and potentially save yourself some money.
It's like online shopping, but for insurance, way less fun, but potentially much more rewarding. But here's the thing. Those comparison sites, they don't always show every option, do they?
That's true. You've got to be savvy. They don't always include every single insurer in the market. Some insurers prefer to deal directly with customers, so it's always worth doing a little digging on their websites just in case. Think of the comparison sites as a starting point, but don't be afraid to branch out and do a bit of research on your own too.
Solid advice. Now, we've talked about protecting our health, our homes, our vehicles, but what about the bigger picture? Planning for those life events that, well, we might not always want to think about, but it's important to be prepared for.
Exactly. Life insurance, income protection, serious illness cover, not the most glamorous topics, I'll admit, but they're all part of that financial peace of mind puzzle.
Well, let's put that puzzle together then. Let's start with life insurance. The articles you sent mention two main types, term, life, and whole of life. Remind me again, what's the difference?
Sure. So think of it this way. Term life insurance is like renting an apartment, while whole of life is like buying a house. With term life, you're covered for a specific period, like say 20 or 30 years. If you were to pass away during that term, your beneficiaries, they get a payout. But once the term ends, the coverage ends too.
So it's a safety net for a set amount of time.
Exactly. Whole of life, on the other hand, that's like owning a house. It's designed to provide coverage for your entire life. As long as you keep up with those premium payments, there's a guaranteed payout to your beneficiaries whenever you pass away, no matter when that is.
So term life is more of a short-term solution, and whole of life is about, what, building a legacy, something like that.
Exactly. And like most things, there's a trade-off. Term life tends to be the more affordable option, which is why it's often used for things like covering mortgages. You need the coverage for as long as the loan is active, right? Whole of life, that's more about long-term financial planning, maybe leaving something behind for your children or grandchildren or, a favorite charity.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, there's one type of life insurance I've always been a bit fuzzy on: mortgage protection. Isn't that basically mandatory here in Ireland?
You're right, it is. It's a requirement from most lenders here when you're taking out a mortgage. Essentially, it's a type of decreasing term life insurance, and it's directly linked to your mortgage balance. So let's say the worst happens, you're no longer around, the policy would pay off the remaining mortgage, meaning your loved ones wouldn't be stuck with those repayments.
So it's not just about protecting the lender, it's about protecting your family too. Which, yeah, that's huge, especially when you're just starting out and you've got that new mortgage hanging over your head.
Exactly. It's one less thing for them to have to worry about during what's already going to be a difficult time. Now, alongside life insurance, the articles you sent also touched on income protection and serious illness cover. And these can seem kind of similar, but they actually serve very different purposes.
Right, okay. Break that down for us. What's the difference?
Yeah.
And do we really need both?
Another great question. Okay, so picture this. You're cruising along, life is good, and then bam, something happens. You're hit with a serious illness or injury that prevents you from working, maybe even for a long time.
Yeah, that's definitely not the kind of surprise anyone wants.
Nope, not at all. So that's where income protection swoops in. It's like a financial safety net for those exact situations. It's designed to replace a portion of your income, usually around 50% to 75% if you can't work because of illness or injury. Now, it's not a full replacement, but it's a lifeline to help cover those essential expenses while you focus on getting better.
So income protection is about making sure the bills get paid, you can keep a roof over your head, all that, even when the unexpected hits. What about serious illness cover? Where does that fit in?
Think of serious illness cover more like a lump sum payment you'd receive upon diagnosis of a specific illness. We're talking cancer, heart attack, stroke, things that can have a huge impact on your finances, even if you've got good health insurance. It's there to help cover those immediate costs. Medical bills, maybe making adaptations to your home, maybe even taking time off work to really focus on your recovery without the financial stress. Like, let's say you're diagnosed with an illness that requires specialized treatment abroad. Suddenly, you're dealing with travel expenses, maybe accommodation, treatments that aren't readily available here in Ireland.
Yeah, that adds up quickly.
It really does. So serious illness cover, it's about having that financial flexibility when you need it most. Income protection is more about covering those ongoing essential expenses when you're unable to work.
Got it. They work together then to provide that safety net.
Exactly. Now, speaking of safety nets, I see we've also got travel on the agenda.
Travel insurance.
Yeah.
It's that thing we always mean to buy, but then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're like frantically searching for your passport at 4 a.m., stressing about whether you remembered to pack the adapters.
Oh, tell me about it. It's easy to let it slip our minds, especially when we're caught up in that pre-holiday excitement. But honestly, travel insurance, it's one thing you really don't want to skimp on. And that goes for whether you're off on some epic backpacking adventure across Southeast Asia or just hopping on a quick flight to see the family in Kerry.
Okay, you piqued my interest. Convince me. Why is it so essential even for those shorter trips?
Well, think of it like this. It's your safety net for when those unexpected travel hiccups inevitably pop up. Lost luggage, flight cancellations, sudden illnesses, even those little oops moments that can happen when you're exploring somewhere new. Because let's face it, things happen. And when they do, it's always more complicated, not to mention expensive, to sort it all out when you're miles away from home.
Okay, yeah, those are definitely not situations you want to be caught unprepared for.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of things does travel insurance actually cover? Give me the rundown.
Let's start with the biggie medical emergencies. Getting sick or injured while you're traveling, that can turn into a real financial nightmare without the right cover. We're talking potential hospital stays, emergency medical transport, even just seeing a doctor for a bad case of, traveler's tummy can set you back a fair bit, especially if you need to go private. Travel insurance, it takes care of those unexpected medical bills so you can actually focus on getting better instead of worrying about the cost.
That is a huge weight off your shoulders, especially if you're traveling with family. The last thing you want is for some unexpected illness or accident to derail the whole trip and drain your savings account.
Exactly. And speaking of derailing trips, travel insurance can also help with trip cancellation or curtailment. Imagine, you've booked your dream holiday, you're all packed, and then Bam, something happens. A family emergency back home, you get sick, whatever it might be. Suddenly, you have to cancel. Without insurance, you're potentially out all that money, especially for non-refundable flights and accommodation. Travel insurance can help recoup those costs, so at least you're not dealing with the financial stress on top of everything else.
Right, because that's already stressful enough.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing it's the same deal if something happens while you're on your trip and you need to cut it short.
you got it. That's where curtailment coverage comes in. Say you need to fly home. Early travel insurance can help cover the cost of changing your flights and any non-refundable portions of your trip that you miss out on.
This is really making me wonder why I haven't always been better about getting travel insurance. What other benefits should people know about? What am I missing?
Oh, there's more. Remember all those travel horror stories about lost luggage? Yeah, travel insurance can help with that too. Now, it might not magically reunite you with your favorite swimsuit the second you get off the plane, but it can help cover the cost of replacing essential items if your luggage is delayed or lost. And some policies even offer cover for specific valuables like laptops, cameras, jewelry. It's always worth checking the details of your policy.
Good to know. So it's not just about medical emergencies, it's about having that financial cushion for a whole range of travel headaches.
Yeah.
Is there anything else people should be thinking about when they're choosing a policy? Aside from, reading the fine print, which I'm sure applies here too.
Oh, absolutely. Read the fine print. But yeah, one thing to consider is what kind of traveler you are. If you're a frequent flyer, always jetting off somewhere new, then an annual multi-trip policy might be the most cost-effective option. It covers you for the whole year, no matter how many trips you take, which saves you the hassle of buying separate policies every time. But if you're more of an occasional traveler, then sticking to single-trip policies for those specific trips probably makes more sense.
Okay, so it's all about finding the coverage that actually suits your lifestyle, your travel habits, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into the world of insurance, any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are, on that quest for financial peace of mind?
Absolutely. I think the key takeaway here is that insurance, it's not just about ticking boxes or complying with regulations. It's about taking control of your financial well-being
Hmm.
and planning for those what-if scenarios that, let's be honest, none of us really want to think about, but they happen. It's about protecting yourself, your loved ones, your hard-earned assets, so you can navigate those inevitable twists and turns that life throws your way with a little more confidence.
I love that. Taking control, navigating those twists and turns with confidence. It's like having a safety net, a backup plan, a guardian angel looking out for your financial well-being, right?
Exactly. And remember, insurance, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. What works for your neighbor, your best friend, or, that guy doing yoga next to you at the gym, it might not be the best fit for your individual needs.
It's about doing your research, asking questions, and finding the coverage that actually aligns with your own priorities, your needs, your life. It's like piecing together a financial puzzle, but instead of a pretty picture, you get peace of mind.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And hey, if it ever feels overwhelming, never be afraid to reach out to a financial advisor. They can help you navigate the, let's be honest, often confusing world of insurance and find a plan that gives you that much-needed peace of mind.
Wise words from the expert. And on that note, it's time for us to resurface from this deep dive into the world of insurance. A huge thank you to you for joining us today, and of course, a special thanks to our amazing expert for sharing their incredible insights and expertise.
My pleasure. It was great being here.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and remember, a little knowledge can go a long way.